You know what's a crazy concept? I'm sure you've heard someone say this before. It's one of those famous sayings. We need a marketplace of ideas, an open discussion, open debate, an open intellectual battleground, so to speak. The good ideas will prevail. The good ideas will survive. The bad ideas will crumble. Why is it that that doesn't seem to exist in the world of modern leftism? The further left you go on the spectrum, it seems like the more shit ideas slowly move their way to the top. I have a hard time reconciling with the idea that, I could hear something that's so incredibly dumb, something so clearly backwards and just idiotic, how someone like me can get exposed to some just stupid idea. My reaction will be something like, okay, that's like the dumbest thing I've ever heard, and now to move on with my life. But then there's a polar opposite type of person, in other words, a leftist, who gets exposed to the same kind of idea, clearly stupid, but buys into it 100%. Like the Latinx thing, so dumb, obviously not gonna work. But leftists, they were all in. Neo-pronouns, an obvious social trend on TikTok. All of us regular adults looking in complete amazement and shock, and the good kind of amazement, questioning whether it's the end of society as we know it. Other people, again, totally captured by it. I have a hard time reconciling with that. And that's why when we get moments like these, as some leftists, namely Anna Kasparian these days, start to see the same picture as we do, well, there's just something that's endlessly satisfying about it. Anna Kasparian going hard in her activism against the whole birthing person, dehumanizing, ridiculous language that leftist academic types are promoting. The socialists on TikTok are real mad. Let me show you guys what she said, then of course let's have a conversation about the topic. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so the people at TYT, we gotta give them credit. I can't believe I'm saying this, I literally can't believe this is coming out of my mouth, but even Cenk Yuger, he had an appearance on Tim Pool's Culture War show, I think 2 days ago. That's the morning show that he does on his channel, Tim Pool, not Timcast. And I have to admit it was a pretty good conversation. I wasn't expecting it. Cenk kind of having a little bit of a redemption arc. Still a complete unhinged lunatic, of course, but a little bit of a redemption arc. Anna Kasparian, same thing, and she continues. Here she is on Patrick Bet-David's podcast, the Valuetainment podcast, where she was going in on these new cultural Marxist tropes.
So, to answer your question, you are correct. I do not like to be bullied or pressured into saying things or believing things that I do not believe. I find that terminology degrading. Okay?
Why?
Because I'm not a birthing person, okay? I'm a woman.
What's wrong with being called a birthing person?
Well, first of all, not all women even have the capacity to get pregnant. So it's degrading to them to be essentially to have their womanhood questioned if they're not
what a point
if they're unable to have kids to begin with. But also, look, this is the thing that annoys me about this entire issue and conversation, because they'll turn around and they'll say, no one's calling you a birthing person. Okay, does someone need to call an individual who finds the N-word offensive, the N-word, in order for him or her to find it offensive or degrading? You get what I'm saying?
Of course.
No one needs to be called that word to find it problematic or to have an issue with it. And besides which, I was called that, okay? Yes, in a medical setting, but this is a doctor who knows I'm a biological woman. Call me a woman. But I had a conversation with that doctor. Why did you feel the need to call me a birthing person? Like, where did that come from? And in California, medical providers are basically told that there will be penalties if they don't use the proper terminology or if they're caught doing anything discriminatory toward the trans community. Now, if they're actually doing something discriminatory toward the trans community, I think medical providers absolutely should face consequences. But the idea that we should change all of our terminology, even toward women who want to be called women, in order to be inclusive is ridiculous to me. Now, if a transgender person wants to be called that, fantastic. I respect it. I'll do it. I'll engage in it. But I think in the context of my relationship with my doctors, I want to be called a woman. It's not that difficult.
The word that I want to stick to is really dehumanizing. I can't imagine being in an environment, whether it be a medical professional environment or a casual environment, and let's say for the sake of this conversation, I happen to be a woman, I can't imagine somebody calling me a birthing person. It's so incredibly dehumanizing. It strips women of their cultural identity, their biological identity, their human identity, in an attempt to boil everything down to the biological function of birthing. That's the only identifying factor. You know, to me, women are more than just birthing people, and I feel like it's pretty damn insulting to the group of people that gives us life, to the backbone of the society. You know, of course, there's the argument that men build the world, which is objectively true, but men build the world because strong women behind us take incredible burdens off of our shoulders, building the family, building community, allowing us to hunt and conquer. The female role is the backbone of society. It goes beyond the concept of just birthing. What leftists are trying to do is strip women of their identity, strip it bare, and turn it into a mascot or a Halloween costume. It's the point I was trying to make in the intro. It's this cultural Marxist nonsense that makes you scratch your head going, who's buying into this? Like, what even is this? What am I reading? And it's gotten so outlandish, so crazy that the left, and more importantly the progressive left, is losing the TYT. Folks, from 2016 to pretty much, well, last year, the TYT was the progressive leftist refuge online. I mean, that was the place to be if you were a cultural Marxist. You know, that's what I keep arguing. That's what I keep saying. These far left revolutionaries have gone so off the deep end that it's only a matter of time until the pendulum ends up swinging in the other direction with increased velocity. I mean, just some of these concepts. Neo-pronouns? Frog self and void self? What is that? Biological males competing in female sports? What? Biological males being locked up and sent to female prisons? What am I listening to? Renaming all Spanish people Latinx, renaming women, redefining woman in all kinds of dehumanizing fashion. These ideas are unpopular. Leftists cannot defend them. That's probably another important point to make. You know, on this issue in particular, there's a lot of people making TikTok videos and writing all over Twitter, well, oh, that's not actually happening, or that's only happening in a medical setting. It's nonstop copium and moving goalposts, just like the whole thing with inappropriate books or critical race theory being taught in schools. It's obviously ridiculous, and when you mention it, the leftist defense isn't, oh, well, it's justified because. No, the leftist defense is, well, that's not actually happening, and oh, it's propaganda, oh, they're misrepresenting it. No, we're not. It is happening. It happened to Anna Kasparian. She went to the doctor and she was called a birthing person in California. Stop shifting the goalposts. Stop pretending like it isn't what it is when it literally is what it is, and we can see it. You leftists have lost the plot. This sort of cultural Marxist trend was in vogue for a while, and everyone was jumping on the bandwagon, including major corporations who thought that this was the future. Boy, did that age poorly, as all this cultural redefining nonsense continues to crumble right before our very eyes. Leftist ideology is imploding, and honestly, we didn't really have to do much. They're doing it themselves. We don't even have to argue against this stuff anymore, you know? I don't have to focus so much on cultural issues going after the left because Bill Maher and Anna Kasparian and many others, well, they're essentially doing it for me. It's a fantastic thing. It's slow change, but the change is happening, and I'd say that's a pretty good feeling. That's what I got for you guys on this one. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, friends, and I'll see you on the next one.